Welcome to Excel and Business Math video number 30. Hey, in this video, we got to talk about Excel payroll timesheets, the if function for calculating overtime, and gross pay. Now, last video, we talked about time number formatting and time calculation and saw our first payroll timesheet. But in this video, we're going to calculate 6 individual daily timesheets for an employee's at a company. Then we'll summarize all of the total hours for each one of the employees and calculate regular hours, overtime hours, regular gross pay, overtime gross pay, and total gross pay. Now, this is just the second video this week about payroll. In this video, we concentrate more on the timesheets, overtime, and gross pay. And the next couple of videos, we'll talk about deductions. All right, let's go over to the sheet timesheets. And on this sheet, if I scroll over, here's the timesheet for Monday, February 19th. Here are our employees. Now, we've already entered the time in, time out, and then time in, time out after lunch. Down here, this is for Tuesday. And if we scroll down, I've already entered the times in all the way to Saturday. So what we're going to do is create a formula to calculate hours worked. Now, notice this is Tyrone here. That's for Monday. Tyrone is listed down here. So the employee order is the same on each sheet. Now, last video, we talked all about time number formatting. We know that it is entered as a time. We enter it in manually like this. And we're allowed to subtract the earlier time from the later time and calculate total hours worked. Now, last video, we talked exactly about this formula we're going to do. We're going to use the sum function, Alt equals. But we don't want to just add flat numbers. I want to take before lunch, the later time, there it is, minus the earlier time. Now, that's just time before lunch. We're going to type a comma, and then the time after lunch, hours worked as always, later time minus earlier time. Now, the beauty of the sum function is we don't have to worry about our parentheses and then multiplying by 24 like we did last video. Because inside the sum function, it'll calculate those subtractions, each one of them, and then the sum will add. As we talked about last video, Excel time is a proportion of a 24-hour day. Each one of these times, Excel automatically divided by 24. So in order to get hours worked, we always have to take our total hours worked as a proportion of a 24-hour day and multiply it by 24 to bump it back up to actual hours worked. Control-Enter. Remember, time number formatting gets sucked or pulled from those cell references. We're not fooled. We immediately go up and apply General, or we use our keyboard, Control-Shift-Tilde, grave accent, to apply the general number formatting. Now I can double-click and send this down. Go to the last cell and hit F2. That is an awesome formula to calculate hours worked for this employee before lunch and after lunch. Now I'm going to click Escape there. You know, if I hit F2 and then Enter, look at that. Every single time it pulls or sucks the number formatting. So I'm going to Control-Shift-Tilde. Anytime I check a formula, F2, I use Escape because, as we talked about earlier in the class, Escape will revert back to whatever the cell was before you put it in edit mode. So when I use Escape, that's a great way of avoiding that time number formatting issue. Now, I do not want to recreate the formula for each one of these templates. Guess what? F2, that's a relative cell reference. If I copy this cell and paste it down here, it'll be looking exactly at the right relative cell references. Escape, I'm going to highlight the whole column. Copy with Control-C. Now watch this. Click Control-V. I'm using the wheel on my mouse. Click Control-V. I could F2 on each one of these to check. Just to verify, I'm going to click Escape. But I know that this is going to work as I copy this down. Control-V. Control-V. I love this Control-V. Now I'm going to check the last one just to triple check F2. That is beautiful. Escape. Now, this is for Saturday. This is for Friday, but I need all of Tyrone's times, all of Mallory's times, all of Daryl's times up here at the top. Now, I've set up this template Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I just need to list all of the hours from here, right there. Then I need all the Tuesday hours up here. But I do not want to copy and paste. I want to use a formula because, of course, next week, I'm simply going to enter new hours, and everything will update. So here we go. Here's Monday equals a relative cell reference. Notice that relative cell reference is 1, 2, 3 to my left. So when I Control-Enter and copy it down, go to the last cell, hit F2, it's still looking 1, 2, 3 cells to my left. Now Tuesday, equal sign. Now I'm clicking 1, 2, 3, 4 cells to my left and a bunch down. But no problem. That relative cell reference will work perfectly. Control-Enter. Copy it down. Go to the last cell and hit F2. It's definitely pointing at the correct time. That's the total hours worked for Tanisha. Now I'm going to continue doing this for each one of the days. Equal sign, scroll down. I'm going to hit Tab. Equal sign, and I'm going to scroll down to Thursday. There it is, Tab. Notice I'm entering the formulas horizontally, so I'm using Tab. Equal sign for Friday. I'm using the wheel. I get the first time. That's for Tyrone on Friday. Tab. Over here, Saturday equals, scroll down. There's the time for Tyrone and Enter. Now, I can copy all of these down in one fell swoop. Click and drag. Go to the last cell and hit F2, and that should be pointing exactly at the right location. Now we have all of our times together, and it's totally dynamic. If Tyrone's time here was really 8, so I'm going to put an 8 here. As soon as I hit Enter, that number will change right there and Enter. Sure enough. Now I'm going to Control-Z because he really did come in at 6:30. Now let's come over to the side. We need to total for the week because this is the total hours we're going to need for our payroll calculation. Alt equals. I'm verifying that the cell references are correct. They are. Control-Enter. Double-click and send it down. Go to the last cell and hit F2. All right, now notice we're on the sheet time sheets. Here's the time sheets. Here's the total hours worked. Let's go over to gross pay. Now I need to make my calculations over here for week totals, regular hours, and so on. But what am I going to do? Here we are. Week total hours for each employee, but I really, when I click on timesheets, I need these numbers. Again, we do not want to copy and paste. We are going to come back to gross pay, and we're simply going to do a sheet reference. I'm going to make a formula right there that'll look at the correct total for Tyrone on timesheet, and then copy it down as a relative reference. But it'll be a sheet reference that's a relative cell reference. Now, video 27, our bank reconciliation video, we saw how to use View and New Window and Arrange All to put sheets next to each other, and then we were allowed to go back and forth creating sheet references. But for us, we do not need to go through the hassle of New Window, Arrange All, because we only have one simple formula. No problem. Sheet references are easy. Now I want to show you something important. If I just wanted to pull that 40 from a cell on this sheet, that formula would take 3 clicks. The first click is equal sign. The second click is clicking on the cell. The third click is clicking Enter. Notice that's 3 clicks. Now I'm going to delete this. If I want to get a number from a different sheet, instead of 3 clicks, I'm going to have 4. The only difference is I'm going to have to click on the sheet as one of my steps. So you ready? There are 4 steps when I'm doing a sheet reference. Equal sign, that's the first click. Click on the sheet. That's the second click. If you look up into the formula bar right now, you can see it's already polite. In single apostrophes, it puts the sheet name. That explanation point is the syntax that says The words in the formula are OK because they represent a sheet reference. The third click is to click on the cell I want. I did. You can see this right here. The fourth click is to hit Enter. Perfect. Look at that. Now, I'm going to make a mistake because this is 100% the most common error made when people are making sheet references. I'm going to use the delete key to get rid of it. Here you go. This is a total mistake. Equal sign, that's the first click. Sheet, that's the second click. Click on the cell, that's the third click. Most of us, including myself, when I started doing sheet references, what did I do? I clicked back on the sheet instead of hitting Enter. That will not work. Sheet references don't work that way. When you're on the other sheet and you click on the cell, you got to hit Enter. So I'm going to click Escape and try it again. Equal sign, click on the sheet, click on the cell, Enter. Now, I can come back here and hit F2 to look at this. There it is. That is a sheet reference. I'm just getting Q3, but not from this sheet, from the sheet named Timesheets. Notice it's a relative cell reference. Also notice it doesn't have a color. When you do sheet references, it's not color-coded like when we do cell references on the same sheet. Control-Enter, double-click and send it down. Go to the last cell and hit F2. That is looking good. And Enter. So we did a sheet reference to pull total hours. And this will totally update if we change anything on that sheet. Now, regular hours. First, we need to talk about overtime pay. Federal law, Fair Labor Standard Act states that over 40 hours, for most employees, you get paid extra. So for Tyrone, 40 hours are regular, but 0.78 hours, that means a little bit under a single hour, he is not going to earn $18.41. He's going to earn $18.41 times the overtime rate of 1.5. Now, look at this. Kenya, she has 48.75, but the regular hours are 40. So we'll multiply 40 times 15.94. But for overtime gross pay, guess what? Kenya worked 8.75 hours. You do not want to take 8.75 and multiply it by 15.94. You actually take 15.94 and multiply it by a rate, 1.5. Now, this rate is given just as 1.5. But when we talked about fractions in this class and ratios, what that really means is that Kenya is going to earn $1.50 overtime pay for every $1 of regular pay or wage per hour. All right, but before we can get to calculating the different gross pays, we first need a formula because I do not want to manually do this. I don't want to look here, type 40, and then type 0.78 here. I don't want to, in this cell, look there, say that's not over 40, so I'm going to put 34.5 and 0 here. I want a formula to do it automatically. Because remember, these can change. They're all linked to that other sheet. We could enter different times over there, and I want everything to update. Well, this is the perfect job for the if function. Because what are we going to do? We're either going to put a 40 here for regular hours, or I'm just going to put the total. For example, for Mallory. Here I need 40. Here I need 34.5. Here I need 28.53. Here I need 40. Notice, each cell gets one of two things. Either 40, because the person worked more than 40 hours, or just please put the weekly total. All right, so we're going to use the if function, and I have my 40 hours worked up here. Equals if. Logical test. That means some logical formula that comes out true or false. For us, we're always checking, hey, are the weekly total hours as a relative cell reference, are you greater than 40? Now I'm clicking on that 40 and I need it locked, so I'm going to hit the F4 key. There's our logical test. As we copy down, I will always check each one of the weekly total hours. Are you bigger than 40? True or false? Now, comma. What do we want in the cell if the value comes out true? That means the logical test says you're bigger than 40. Well, then for regular hours, we just want 40. So I'm going to click there and hit F4 to lock it. Comma. Now what if the logical test comes out false? Like for Mallory. Well, then I just need the actual week total hours. So value of false is going to be relative cell reference. Now notice 1, 2. Those are the two different things that will be put in the cell. Either 40 or just put the regular hours. All right, I come to the end, close parentheses, Control Enter, double click and send it down. That is absolutely amazing. It got it right, 40, 34.5, 28, 40, and so on. Now, overtime hours. Well, Tyrone gets 0.78, Mallory gets 0, and down here, Kenya gets 8.75. Well, that's an easy enough calculation. Bigger number minus smaller number equals the bigger number minus the smaller number. We're going to always take the weekly total hours and subtract regular hours. Now, I said bigger minus smaller. Well, that's only the case if they worked more than 40 hours, because look down here, when I copy this down as relative cell reference, that's not bigger, they're equal. So, of course, it'll be a 0 there. So really, it's total hours for the week minus regular hours. Control Enter, double click and send it down. Now we have what we need, regular hours and overtime hours for each employee. Now we can calculate regular gross pay and overtime gross pay. Regular gross pay is just the total hours worked, regular hours times the actual rate, wage per hour. Now, when we have time, of course, this is a decimal between 0 and 1, and there can be lots of extraneous decimals. This is definitely money. We are definitely using these formulas and other formulas to add, for example, here. So we are totally required to round. We must use the round function. All three conditions are met. We have extraneous decimals. We're required to round because of money. And we're going to use the formula in some other formula result. Equals the round function. Number. I'm going to take wage per hour as a relative cell reference times regular hours as a relative cell reference. That'll work. Comma. 2, we are rounding to the penny. Remember our memorization trick. We count from the decimal 1, 2. Since we want to round to that position, we put a 2. That tells round to the penny. Close parentheses. Control Enter. Double click and send it down. Go to the last cell and hit F2. Oh, look at that. I didn't go down over here to either one of these and check to see F2 if these were all working correctly, especially this one. Man, I should get points off on my test for not checking. But at least I remembered before I finished. Those cell references, the locked ones and the relatives, are working fine. All right, now we did regular. And if I F2, notice it's just wage per hour times regular hours. The only difference, and I'm going to click Escape, when we get to overtime pay, we still have to use the round. But the only difference is instead of multiplying hourly wage times overtime hours, we're first going to have to take hourly wage times 1.5. So you ready? In the number argument, there's Tyrone's hourly wage times 1.5. Don't forget to lock that, because as I copy down, every single cell needs to be locked on the rate of 1.5. I'm going to hit the F4 key. Now, that is definitely a formula input that can change. 1.5 is typical, but you could get double time, or if you're super lucky working on a holiday overtime, maybe you get triple time. So that definitely needs to follow Excel's golden rule. Now, so far all we have is hourly wage times 1.5. Now we need to multiply that times the overtime hours. And there we go. Now we can comma 2 for number of digits. We're rounding to the penny. Close parentheses. Control Enter. Double click and send it down. Go to the last cell and hit F2. That is looking good. We got the right cell references and enter. Now gross pay, this is an easy one. Alt equals, it guesses totally wrong. I'm going to highlight the correct two cells, regular and overtime. Control enter. Double click and send it down. Go down to the last cell and hit F2. All right, so we definitely calculated total gross pay with the sum. We saw how to do round and 1.5 overtime rate times overtime hours. Regular pay, we've done that lots before in this class. Overtime, that was an easy formula. Hey, total work minus regular. We got to use the if function for the third time in this class, but now we're calculating regular hours. Escape. Look at this. Over here, we did a sheet reference. Remember, 1, 2, 3, 4 clicks. Equal sign. Click on the sheet. Click on the cell reference and enter. I'm going to click escape. And back over here, we added up our total. We made sure for each day of the week to point to the right daily timesheet. And we started it all off by calculating. Look at that. The dancing ants are still going when I copied earlier. I'm going to click escape. Hey, and we started off with our sum function and properly subtracting later time and earlier time, before lunch, after lunch, and multiplying by 24. All right, if you like that video, be sure to click that thumbs up, leave a comment, and sub, because there's lots more videos to come from Excel is Fun, including our next video 31, where we'll talk about what to do with a time formula when someone works the night shift. All right, we'll see you next video.